Hey, we
We
live.
are in the building, BGW, and of course, this right here, as people are filing in, this here is probably the GOAT roundtable of pro wrestling media, if I must say so myself, because we got certified legends on this roundtable. Honestly, I think this is the first, like, when it comes to the watch list, two guests at the same time. Oh, let me rephrase
Yes,
myself. Two co-hosts at the same
co-host.
time. But we can't. Before we actually dive into the intro and everything like that, I have a question for you brothers because obviously we got to start out with one. When it comes to British wrestling and its influence, because the influence transcends into American wrestling, is Will Ospreay the most influential British wrestler of this generation? And so, like, if we were to look, and like I said, this is more of a hypothetical, if we're to look into the next generation of pro wrestlers, how much influence do you think Will Ospreay will have on that next generation?
I'll start that one right off. Because my answer initially before you threw in that caveat was I think we'll see in the next year, 2 years. But I think he has the chance to be. He's already the most popular guy in AEW, right? He's definitely going to be a world champion at some point, probably sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the most dynamic wrestler on a big stage right now, as far as put me in there with anybody, and not only can I match style for style, I'll still do my thing. I'll still get the reactions from the crowd. And that's exciting to people coming up. That's exciting to the kids. Imagine Will Ospreay in a video game. You know what I mean? Like, Will Ospreay is a video game.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Literally.
to answer your question in short order, 100% yes, he will be by the time we have this conversation next year. I think he will be, influential. And we'll see on the indies. When we start to see people doing their versions of Hidden Blades, when we see like little, especially transition moves, not even his big moves, when we start to see his transition moves be copied and used and kind of remixed on the indies, that's the answer right there.
Yeah. What about you, Lorenzo? What do you think, bro?
Absolutely, and I definitely appreciate that answer, Ayo. I think when we think about British wrestling in total, and a little bit about the particular championship we will be discussing tonight, for me, initially coming up high school into undergrad, the most influential British wrestler of like that generation previous, and probably a little bit before that for me is Zack Sabre Jr. Right now, when we look at the undisputed British title in its iteration coming into Rev Pro, there isn't a longer title holder than Will Ospreay when it comes to that title, right? When we look at the lineage of the British undisputed title, we see that it changes hands about 6 months to a year, right? During Ospreay's longest reign, he had it for about like 900 something days, right? So on some Roman Reigns shit in Rev Pro. But Zack Sabre has the longest combined reign based on like the number of times he had the title, which I believe it's 4. But now today, absolutely, I got to agree with y'all. You dig what I'm saying? Like, he is the assassin. You dig what I'm saying? Like, we all kind of know that comes from a certain video game in a certain world. And he was able to just like build himself physically over time. I think build his mentality, build that character, and just who he will be able to speak to in the next 5 to 10 years is very important. And so he's going to take British wrestling to that next level. You know what I mean? Number wise and just like eyes wise. You know what I mean? So Zack Sabre had it in a certain way, but like Will is going to take it, to way further heights now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Nolo.
So I am not the most well-versed when it comes to British wrestling. Everything I know, I can thank Scotland for giving me the knowledge and whatnot. But for my limited knowledge of everything, I definitely will have to agree with my two gentlemen here that it is Will Ospreay. From someone who had I did not like Will Ospreay when he was first introduced to me. I thought the first thing that he's introduced was the Ricochet and him match, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And and then over the years, I would say that he is like the most improved from that standpoint. The man has became an absolutely complete wrestler. As AO pointed out earlier, you could put him in any type of match. He could do whatever that you want. If you want a brawl, he got you. You want some high spots, he got you. You want as technical as you want to make it, he got you there. And I believe that his influence will go pretty far into this next generation. And as you start seeing more and more people in the indies and even in the like main rosters of places gonna start emulating him, because he's already the man in AEW, and he's only gonna get bigger and bigger because that world title is coming.
It might be in a couple of weeks. But before we hit the intro, real quick, the man, the almanac, Heartbreak Julio. He know what kind of lineup this is.
All right, your heart, Julio. What's up, boy?
So boom, let's go ahead and get to the intro and get started.
Why does it matter to me? It's in my veins, baby. It's in my blood. You understand? Since kindergarten, since I was about this high, I've been watching wrestling.
Watch this. This ain't the pod for the gossip kid. BGW watch list. Black guys, civilized them 85s. Acknowledge the nerd that knows with the vibe. If you catch my live, Scotland goes live. Nolo goes bell to bell. 5 leave it or leave it off the list of them holy grails. Speak raps with Chaz and DMac. 3 count on DMac. Telling pause to relax. Watch this. The watch list. Black guy. Watch this, the watch list. Black guy.
Hey, getting an opportunity to tell you face to face, AO, like you murdered that shit, don't you?
Absolutely. Yo, flames, bro.
Smoking. That shit was fun.
I remember
our faces when we heard it the first time. We was like,
bro, you know what I love?
Go ahead, bro.
I love how DMac was the setup to that last pocket that AO found.
Exactly. DMac, you know.
That's how you write. That's how you write for the guys, man.
Absolutely.
But ladies and gentlemen, welcome
Shout out
to
DMac.
I know one time for DMac. I believe Chaz will be joining us a little later, but welcome everybody to the legendary The Watch List. You know what I mean? Where we come together as nerds and we talk about the vibes of our favorite matches, moments, and everything like that. And this one in particular is special because of the co-hosts that we have on deck. Of course, I'm the Professor, Scotland Underwood. We got the brother Nolo.
Absolutely, Nolo, RKA Rally Dangerously.
Rally Dangerously. And you already know when it comes to these two brothers right here, like I can spend the entire hour talking about their importance to BGW and everything like that. But as I'd like to think, frequent collaborators on this wonderful platform. First, we have the legendary AO from the Ringside Club. My guy, how are you doing?
Pretty well.
Yes,
Not
sir.
a complaint in the world, man.
Yes, sir. And then, of course, the man, the legend himself, Lo, the locker room lead, my man. Welcome to the watch list. First time appearance for Leave.
Thank you, brother. I definitely appreciate it. I definitely appreciate being to this man right here next to me. And this is legendary, man. You know, I'm always humbled to be a part of these platforms. And I'm just excited, man. And love talking about this stuff. And let's get it, man. Time to cook.
Let's get it, man. Of course. One time to meet, you know what I mean? Tapping in. Thank you.
To Mage. Meeks the Mage. What's up?
But like I said, this one is like when it came to the setup of this, we wanted to do a deep dive because we're in the middle, about to hit the middle of the year. It's June. So 2024 has already produced some fantastic wrestling. Obviously, the first episode AO was a part of when we talked about Zack Sabre Jr., Bryan Danielson, but then it's like one in the other, right? When it comes to how this particular year has went, because if the general consensus is Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. is your 1 or 2, the opposite to that is this match right here. Will Ospreay versus Michael Oku from High Stakes RevPro. And after watching this match, This match is like, when it comes to the layers that we're about to peel back, obviously on the watch list, we talk about the history, the participants, the build up, and obviously the match structure. So before we get started, it's very imperative that we paint a picture, because we could talk about Will Ospreay and like who he is, conversations already have, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel that he was not the focal point of this story at all. And I say that because British wrestling in general has undergone a huge transformation since the first time that these two competitors met. So starting out, AO, what was your introduction to the champion, the undisputed British heavyweight champion, Michael Oku?
To be honest, I don't really remember. I remember seeing a lot of clips of Oku floating around social. As far as pinpointing a specific time is pretty tough, but I do remember the back and forth that he had with Ospreay, the truly, I believe they've had 4 matches, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been like my real first time actively sitting down, intentionally watching a Michael Oku match. Because before that, again, like there were a lot of clips that I saw, and it was always like, yo, who is this like little guy? You know, he almost reminds me of damn, what's my man that used to be in NXT that's married to the ref?
Ruff. What's my man's name?
Yeah, Ruffin. Leon Ruff.
Oh, Leon Ruff. Okay,
Leon Ruff.
Yeah.
I got sidebar. I got a Leon Ruff trading card somewhere around here. Yeah. So, but like build wise, he reminds me of like his body type, but I couldn't actually put a style to the body type or the name. You know what I mean? So it really would have been like those the Ospreay matches specifically that will, I don't want to get too far ahead, but there's one where it was the real setup for the match that we're talking about today. Was like one of the first ones where I'm like, holy shit. And when that happened, that was like one of those contenders for like, damn, this might have been the match of the year. And then they did it again, but on an even bigger scale. But yeah, like short answer, saw him around socials, never really tapped into to watch a match. And even with this match, this was the first time in a long time that I had sat down to watch a RevPro show. You know what I mean? Like I was in the Progress early. I was in the RevPro on and off, both of those. I actually preferred Progress to RevPro for a while before they ended up linking up with WWE. And then, we know the direction that went in. Like some of my favorite Walter matches are from Progress. Like you can go down a list. There's so many great matches, but this was the first time that I got a chance to actually tap into a RevPro match also. So this feud kind of brought me back to RevPro and then reintroduced properly, the participants.
Yeah, absolutely. Nolo, I'm going to you. Like I said, if I'm not mistaken, was your first time seeing Oku when we went to WrestleMania in Dallas? And if it wasn't, was there a prior knowledge to who he was?
No, it was definitely WrestleMania Dallas. That is absolutely the first time. I think
match?
that was the first. Excuse me?
What was the match that he had in Dallas?
It was a 6-way.
It
was a 6-way.
What show was it at?
That was for the culture.
For the culture, yes. There you go. It was at the For the Culture joint. But yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen like a match. You've shown me highlights of him because you were like, this dude's gonna be like the next big thing in British wrestling, and I was like, oh, a black guy, that's dope. And then we got to see him in Dallas, and I love that match. That was probably my favorite match on the card. Honestly, that match was dope. Then like just seeing like where he has like come and like. Not to get too far ahead, but like because I haven't seen the first match in their trilogy, but I saw the second and the third one, and just seeing like his aura from the second one to the third one is 2 totally different people, and it's like just amazing, like his growth, and like he in the second one he thought he could win, that third one he knew he was gonna win is how I looked at it as, and. I look forward to he's already how much his future is going to be, and he's actually a little older than I thought he was. I thought he was a little younger. I thought because I looked it up, he's only like 31. He's 31.
Yeah. He's been in the game for a minute too. He's been in the game for a minute. And Lorenzo, the reason why I wanted to come to you last when it comes to this is obviously the answer to the first question, but there's a conversation to be had, especially when it comes to a Black British wrestler, right? And obviously my family's from Scotland, so my grandfather introduced me to like the world of sports, everything like that. And prior to that, in the 70s, you had like Johnny Congo, you know what I mean? The Butcher, pretty much the only two known Black wrestlers in British wrestling, right? And then you translate to where we are today. Your first introduction to Oku, what was it in the grand scheme of things when it comes to like what the representation? How important do you think it is that arguably the face of British wrestling right now is a Black man?
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. My introduction to Oku came around like 2018, 19. I'm really close friends with a couple of good friends from New Hampshire, Calypso, and my other friend Collis, right? They're really into like, first of all, they're really into Chikara Pro Wrestling, right? If anybody's familiar with Chikara, a lot of that stuff took place here in Philadelphia. Really high, flippy stuff. Very PG, cartoony, but really good wrestling. They kind of introduced me to like everything British pro wrestling, right down to like what culture and all of that good stuff. I first got wind of him when Calypso sends me like his Instagram page, and it was like, the OJMO, and I'm like, OJMO, like who is this? You know what I mean? Like who is this guy? But I seen something, I kind of seen the potential, and I seen that couple of shows, being introduced to Progress with him as well, seeing where he was on the card for certain Progress shows. So I'm like, okay, but she's like, no, like this guy, like you're gonna love this guy, like he's and granted, they did some traveling, what I mean, they went overseas a couple of times and said they met him, really cool guy and all of that stuff. But they're also real big fans of Kid Lycos, if anybody's familiar with him, and CCK.
Yep.
Really big CCK fans. And it was being said that like Lycos was somebody that was kind of high on Oku, and that was kind of like like a likewise mutual thing, like you know what I mean, like he kind of saw something in the kid, which kind of told them to like look out for him. But they know what I'm into, just like you, so they was like, yeah, check this guy out, right? And I think the first full match I really saw from him was him and Robbie X, I think, for the cruiserweight RevPro title, and that match ended in a draw. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's like, this is good British strong style, like for a guy this size, right? But that definitely was my first introduction to him, and like to see the growth now, and to like kind of see the swag he got like of an actual king, and to see this guy with this black skin with a natural crown on his head of coarse hair, it's amazing. You know what I mean? It's amazing. You dig what I'm saying? So can definitely annotate that out a bit more, but that was my introduction for sure.
Without question. And like I said, my first introduction was, I think, 2 weeks prior to seeing him in Dallas for the first time. And the reason why I saw it is because the Meltzer match, or the Meltzer rating of the second match he had with Will Ospreay, like, because I didn't correlate that Michael Oku was OMJO. So I was like, I wonder what happened to that one Black kid that was OMJO, and then I found out it was the same person, right?
Oh,
yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, that's wild, right? And
Who would have thought?
The thing that fascinated me most about Oku was just like, as y'all have said, like he didn't have the frame of like somebody would peg as like a top star. He didn't have or at least I didn't know at the time, the charisma. You know what I mean? Like, looking at the second match, you're looking at a version of Will Ospreay that's like in the process of evolving, and we'll get to Ospreay in 1 second. But Oku in the second match to how he is in the third match to kind of how he is right now is like, you literally see an evolution of growth, right? We're talking about a RevPro Triple Crown, undisputed British tag team champion, undisputed British cruiserweight champion, obviously the undisputed British heavyweight champion, the 2019 British J-Cup winner. Yep. He's evolved in his progression as a wrestler, which I think has been the evolution of British wrestling, right? And so in order to tell the story of British wrestling, you do have to tell the story of Will Ospreay, right? And Ospreay is one of those, like I said, we don't have to do the deep dive, but obviously, as all four of us know, Will Ospreay right now is the general consensus pound for pound best wrestler in the world, right?
Yeah.
Some people might not believe that. Some people might not. It's really, that's a different conversation for another day. But whoever wants to answer first, Will Ospreay, in your opinion, and we brought it up at the beginning of the show, but like his importance to British wrestling is very much at the forefront of this match, because this match is Will Ospreay's final RevPro appearance. This is the last match as an indie wrestler. I think he's at this point he's wrapped up with New Japan. But where do you think Will Ospreay's, like, when did it become very clear that Will Ospreay is today's generation's like Shawn Michaels, or you know what I mean, like his influence? When do you think that starting point was?
I think it's a slow drip. I think if you're on this side of the pond, right? Will Ospreay, for me, when he was still cruiserweight and he was still doing like the very Ricochet style matches, that version of Will Ospreay wouldn't have been able to do and connect with as many people as this version of Will Ospreay, like at all. For me, like I can even say that like Will Ospreay, if he was still doing that, I don't think I'd be a fan. You know, I think he's good. That's like great opening match. And I know that from watching Ricochet. Like Ricochet is good for a highlight or replay every couple of cards, is in my book. But as far as like building something around Ricochet, I'm just really not. I'm not there, because it's really just about like highlights and what can you do. The cool thing about Ospreay is he started to put more size on his frame. He started to slow down a little bit. Now each move has to mean a little bit more. There has to be a reason why I'm doing this move. I think for us over here, the general consensus, even when he first came over to AEW, there was still a lot of people that were like, oh, I don't want to see that flippy shit, because they hadn't really known. So I think the matches that he had, Forbidden Door, where he had the match, the couple of matches with Omega, let's just say.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because Omega was already established over here in AEW. We already know what Omega is about. A lot of people that were watching that match might have been the first time that they've seen Ospreay, or the first time they've seen Ospreay in a long time. So I think right around that, as far as in the general consensus and the general conversation of like, oh shit, this guy is really, really, really good, I would probably peg it around that time with those matches with Omega.
Let me ask you, how important or how much for like an American audience do you think the Orange Cassidy match had? Like, because like I said, I feel like for a lot of people, that was the first time. For me, that's when I really started to turn around on Ospreay. I was like, yo, you going fucking crazy with Orange Cassidy. Like, what's going on? Hold on, who we got here? The legend, you know what I mean? True King R&B, the guy. What's going on with you, man?
Hey, what's up?
Michael Bull.
Good sir. We had him on the show a couple ago.
Yeah, that was a great episode too. But yeah, like for an introduction standpoint, do you think that Orange Cassidy match influenced a lot of, like, they were kind of realized like, oh, he's not really like this overly flippy guy. Like he does it, but it's not a forefront.
Maybe as far as seed planning, but I think like you're not gonna get that title of best in the world until you have the high profile main event spots. So you can have a good match with Orange Cassidy, great match of the night on that Forbidden Door in a lot of people's opinions. But until you're in there with a bona fide main eventer, I can't consider you to be a bona fide main eventer, you know?
What about you, Lorenzo? What do you think?
So I heard Shawn Michaels. And so, yeah, man, I think so early on, you know, listening to a lot of other shows out there, a lot of guys like joking, even like a couple of, shows over the pond, like it was a little sentiment out, this is like, inside baseball, I guess, for like real, like British marks, or for even like, guys like us, whatever the case is. But there seems to be like this idea that like, Will Ospreay was like sort of like a dork. You dig what I'm saying? Like he really wasn't like, I don't know, whatever that sentiment was. I caught it, I got it. It was a funny joke, but I necessarily didn't feel the same way, right? I think by the time we get to like Wrestle Kingdom 13 against Kota Ibushi, I think that's when I was like, yeah, this motherfucker is serious, man. This motherfucker is really serious. And then by the time we get to about like 14, I think we get Okada. But then in 15, he's participating in the match. I think on night 1 with the United Empire. And now he's kind of like Shawn Michaels. This is kind of like his DX, right? This is like kind of like, and granted, not necessarily a direct parallel to Shawn. But even seeing like the way that somebody like Great Khan performed at Wrestle Kingdom and kind of seeing like the influence that Will is starting to have, you dig what I'm saying? I think like it was around that time, like around like Kingdom 13 when Coda got that concussion against that guy, man. And I was like, yeah, he's about to really be on some shit. I think at that next Wrestle Kingdom, he lost the IWGP, the junior belt to Takahashi, which kind of in that situation was kind of like a changing of the guard, because that's when it was like, okay, like he's really a heavyweight now, right? So that was him kind of like bowing out of the juniors. But I think it was around then, like on the cusp of that Coda match, and then kind of like bowing out of the juniors to Takahashi around that time.
Nolo, what about you? Well, like in your eyes, how has Will Ospreay like evolved over the years to become who he is today?
When my eyes were open was when he won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at first, because I was like, oh man, this is I wasn't like that heavy into New Japan, but I had like seen his matches and I was like, oh, they're giving him a shot at the belt, and I watched it and I was like, he is really much improved from his Ricochet days, actually killing me, bro. But what like really solidified it, the Kenny Omega matches. Like the first one at Wrestle Kingdom, when basically Kenny was whooping his ass, and it was like the story they were telling. And then when he loses that match, and then they go back to it was Forbidden Door, correct? When they fought the second time. And that magnificent performance, like that's when I was like, oh, he's the best. He's the best in the world. He got it. I have nothing. I will never say another bad word about Bill. Bill, he is Big Bill to me forever.
Big Bill.
Big match Bill.
Yeah, bro. He got it. Like I can't, there's like, I don't know how anyone can like watch that match and be dissatisfied or any, like, honestly, in the last 2 years, there's no match that Will Ospreay has been in that I feel like you can look at and be like, you might not like it, but you can't say it's bad.
Yeah. To that point, man, like specifically last year, Will Ospreay, because he wrestled for so many different promotions, by the time we got to the end of that year, he had the best match in each of those promotions.
Everyone he wrestled in.
Everyone he wrestled had their best match. Like, look at the Josh Alexander matches, the match we're talking about today, the matches, like every one of those matches that he had across whatever promotion he was wrestling in, including at home in New Japan, was like, oh, that's at least in the conversation for match of the year.
So, like for me, and like I said, if you know me and you know how I watch pro wrestling, the match I hate the most is the Will Ospreay Ricochet. That's a Super Junior match. Hate the match with an absolute passion. Like if we had been doing the podcast, the episode probably would have just been me slandering it.
Would have been no guests, no co-host, no nothing.
No, it would have just been me.
Just one big ass scream.
Whack, whack, we would pass the ball to Scotland and be like, "Go ahead, bro, you got it."
Like, it would have just been all shots, like because at the time, like I said, that was 2015.
15, yeah.
Like, the way I viewed pro wrestling was just so drastic to how like I attribute to like how I used to look at hip hop. Like I used to be such a very like New York boom bap style. Like that was my version of hip hop. Not depriving myself of like different styles and everything like that. I just thought this shit was just whack. I was like, if I'm here to beat your ass, why are we doing flips like this? You know what I mean? But my first inkling about like Will Ospreay as like a performer, not a wrestler, because I think there is a difference between the way you wrestle and the way you perform and the way you structure that. was the aftermath to that. Like, he had a match with Vader, right? All stemmed from Vader's comments about how he saw the match.
Yep.
So it was like, and if you watch the match, it's very fun. Like, it's very funny. Like, Vader won. like we talking like a couple years before Vader passed away. Like, but like from a match standpoint, it's like, okay, you're willing to do business in the sense of like, if it's gonna better your career. And I think my difference between Ospreay and Ricochet is that I feel from that moment on, Will looked at his perception. He's like, I'm going to prove to you that this is how I wrestle and it's effective and it draws eyes and it draws money. You know what I mean? There's a reason why the match took place in RevPro, right? I don't, and like I said, we can get on the Ricochet thing. Tap into the volumes. I'll slander Ricochet all day on that. You know what I mean? But for Will, like y'all have said, like, it was always a steady evolution. All right, you've seen the flippy stuff. Like, if y'all remember him leading into heavyweight, the thing they talked about on the commentary was like, he's getting more technical. He's focusing more on the groundwork. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he became Sabu in the sense that like the aerial attacks had now like a purpose. He's doing the aerial attacks to have the advantage over like the bigger opponents. Will Ospreay today, I can't see anybody being better than him at what he does. Like, and the scary thing about Will Ospreay is like, he's not even 30 yet. Like, we're still like, like, that's the terrifying thing about, I think, a wrestler that is as good as he is now. What is he going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Like, we potentially have 15 more years of Will Ospreay, and we're already seeing the best version of him.
Yeah, I mean, think about we brought Shawn Michaels up, right? Think about, everybody talks about the post-God Shawn and the pre-God Shawn. Like, think about how dope. Yeah,
two totally different people.
Yeah. But just think about like when Shawn came back. One of my favorite Shawn Michaels match, period, is his return match, SummerSlam 02 against Triple H. I think that is like, that's in that bucket of like, if I'm gonna show somebody a wrestling match for the first time, that's in consideration. But the point about Shawn is like, think about how much experience he had to draw from by the time he was up there in age. The athleticism wasn't peak, but it was enough. But then when you add in whatever storytelling elements I've been around long enough to see and talk to these different people backstage and move around through different eras and wrestle people with different styles, you take that and apply that to Will Ospreay, and it's the same type of thing. And again, like, with all of that time going by, you're going to have somebody that's had multiple world championships that by that time, that's had multiple big, blood feuds and real rivalries with whoever, Swerve, for example. Maybe that's a rivalry that goes on and on for a while. Shawn had that under his belt and then said, all right, now I can get in there with anybody and tell any type of story. So he's God willing, like the health is always A1 with him. Barring any major injuries and major time away, he's one of those ones where when all is said and done, the body of work is already insane, right? Just as Meltzer, right? He's throwing them 5s and 6s at Ospreay like
Candy,
like salt on a steak, my man.
Look, I saw my man. I saw my man. I saw him surpass Masawa. I was just like, I feel sick. Like, I felt I was like, yo, this is.
Man, Sky he had an old head moment. He had that old head moment. Was like, man, things ain't the same.
If you know, like, I don't think nobody loved Mitsuharu Masawa more than Dave Meltzer. So the fact that Dave was like, boom, Will gets he's pressing him, crazy. And then, special shout out to Masawa. This was the anniversary of his passing in Japan today. So, much love to the GOAT and what he does. But there's a reason why, like, I want us to build up Will Ospreay, because it's very integral to this story. And the next layer to that story is British wrestling in general. And I don't think you have to be a profound studier of British wrestling to see how it's changed over the last 10 years. And I feel like the last 10 years has been the most pivotal because there's this argument done that WWE killed British wrestling. I don't subscribe to that ideology because nobody told any wrestler to sign with XYZ, right? My opinion of what changed in British wrestling is just like the speaking out, the essential, the cleaning up. Oh, here, look at the.
Oh,
There
look
he
it.
is. There he is.
Peace.
Our God.
Our guy Chaz.
Yo, that's the illest. That's the that's the illest first look. Like, I'm gonna just come on. You just get these vibes right. I love
I
it.
see you, Kyrie, in the Boston. I feel you.
Brother Chaz, what's up with you, man? I think he's muted, but it's all good.
Yeah, you muted crazy, bro.
Fellas,
There you are.
Our God.
What's up, man?
Peace.
all right, how y'all doing, man?
All is well, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to love, always love. Ayo Baker, is the vocals in yet? My guy, you know what I'm
The
saying?
vocals are in.
Appreciate y'all for stopping on the block, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely.
So, like I was saying, like British wrestling is like the idea that WWE killed British wrestling. I do believe speaking out and the amount of British wrestlers that got affected with that, like truly changed the trajectory of British wrestling because so many guys, either the ones that didn't have any like negative rep to them, were now fully grasped in NXT UK. Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Walter, Dragunov, guys that had like influence on the scene. But then the ones that were in speaking out, like they were rightfully pushed out, right? Mm-hmm. So then you had a whole clear slate to like who is going to take over the throne of like they are British wrestling. Will Ospreay was one. Then you had obviously Zack Sabre Jr., but by the time 2020 rolls around, Zack Sabre Jr., he's more so in Japan. So it's like an open field. And I think at this point, 2020, I think the push for Michael Oku to one day take that throne became a focal point. Would y'all agree?
It's necessary for the survival of the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, real quick to your point, like it's tough. I don't want to place blame, but you can on WWE just because of the history of WWE kind of gobbling up territories, period. Yeah. But just in general, like there's a big hit of all of the people that specifically Progress and RevPro, the big name guys that then go to WWE. And yes, they have NXT UK, but that's kind of off on its own thing, specifically just on the network and not highlighted even the same way that proper NXT was. So that's one point. Speaking out is a big one. And then it's just COVID in general shut shit down for everybody. Mm-hmm. And if you're not set up at that point to then do things that are going to get people talking outside of your initial bubble, is pretty tough. So like the importance of Oku and different people from that scene was like, in order for us to survive, we have to figure out who those next guys are.
Yeah. And Lorenzo, I know we a couple of our initial conversations, we had definitely talked about like the UK scene and like what was happening out there. And like I said, if you're looking at the 2016, 2017, like I think by this, like in 2016, Will Ospreay was very much junior heavyweight. Oku hadn't even made his debut yet. Like I said, they were doing record numbers in the UK. You know what I mean? I think Tyler Bate and Walter, Gunther, sold out Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
Which that like just fathom that. Like
wow.
They sold out Wembley Arena. You know what I mean? Across the up in taking the train up into Scotland. Like I said, ICW is blowing up. You know what I mean? You got Grado, Drew McIntyre is finishing up his indie run. You know what I mean? Shout out to Drew, about to get a title shot this weekend. But do you think the influence of like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Zack Sabre Jr., you know what I mean? Like the very beginning of those guys is like true run as superstars. Do you think that really laid the groundwork to what we're about to talk about?
Absolutely, because it's about a certain lineage. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. I kind of want to touch on the WWE point for a minute. I definitely think that it would be accurate to say, and all of the things that we're dealing with in the world right now, they definitely had, the UK definitely went through a certain gentrification period. With that particular company being on the soil, I think that it's fair to say that. Because you kind of like, get deployed into that space. You look around, you see, you case the joint, and you start like providing your influence. You start placing your logo on things. You start incubating acts and workers that, were already here. Like that's like a gentrification type process. You dig what I'm saying?
No course.
But with the field kind of being cleared out, as it were, you know what I mean? And it's names that we definitely can name. It's a couple. With those folks being missing from the field, I definitely think with folks like Zach, and other folks who you mentioned, I think that for someone like Oku to ascend to the space that he was about to, for a lot of people, it was really kind of like unexpected. But I think that a lot of that unexpectedness, like a lot of that emotion and a lot of those thoughts that people had kind of like played out into this story, into these matches, especially this third one. And when you're hearing the reactions of the crowd, like you're hearing that you're hearing those thoughts and emotions be released, right? And kind of how like Michael turns into like the actual hot white meat babyface, as they say in Britain, you know what I mean? And to kind of see that from the type of audience that is in London and England and on those islands, it was just beautiful to see. So yeah, it was open sesame from about like I said, like Will kind of takes that turn from like junior to heavyweight around like 2019 2020 when all of this was going on. So yeah, it was open season for sure.
Nolo, why do you think when it comes to like where British wrestling took its turn, do you think it was always destined that, and like I said, we don't, not really factoring in like the other players of that time, but like obviously Michael Oku wasn't the only person in that category. Like you had Ricky Knight, you know what I mean? Ricky Knight coming from a prestigious wrestling family in the UK, you know what I mean? You had Luke Jacobs, who was in a tag team at the time, the Young Guns. You had a lot of guys that are getting their forefront today. But do you think it was just like the lining of everything? Like, do you think, like, perfect example, by the time we're getting to this match, like Trent Seven is not in WWE. Like Trent Seven could have been easily slotted in like the face of UK wrestling, because by this time he has the most recognition outside of everybody else. He's been on WWE. He's had the look. Or do you think it was just like they needed a fresh face to restart and reboot the British wrestling?
Like it was time to rebuild, man. Like after everything that they have been going through, like y'all touched on, like from COVID going, making everything, shutting it down, and having, as people like to say, the WWE raid day talent. You have to rebuild. You have to find new stars, and just going back to rehashing to Trent Seven just because he's a name, I don't think that would have got the job done. I personally believe, like, Michael Oku is gonna, like, he is, like, they would not be in the same spot that they are right now if they had given the spot to Trent Seven. Michael Oku is taking British wrestling to a much higher spot and higher status than they would have been right now. So I don't think, like, even looking back at past stars, like, because I know the one thing that everyone loves to do sometimes, especially in sports, is to rehash someone who used to be hot. And that is not the thing to do when you are at downtrodden. It works for a little bit. It can even get you a nice rating or two. But eventually you are gonna have to establish new people. And if you don't do that, then you're gonna be stuck in the past, and then people are gonna go look for a new product.
You know who I think is one name that obviously took himself out of the game, but was probably going to be one of those guys to put on for that scene is Marty Skrull.
That's him.
So
I'm
glad you brought that up,
Oh,
because
Marty.
in doing in doing my research to this and finding out, like, there's only been 3 RevPro Triple Crown winners: Michael Oku, Will Ospreay, and Marty Skrull.
Yes.
Right. And I think one thing that has gotten lost over time, and like I said, rightfully so, is how big Marty Skrull was in 2019. Like, we are talking like he's in the midst of Bullet Club when Bullet Club is at its height, right? So he's in the weeds with Kenny Omega, Cody. Like, had things gone differently, like, Marty Skrull would have been a focal point in the initial year of AEW, right?
1000%.
Without question, right?
1000%.
But you know what I mean? He
Had to
did
be
what he
creepy.
did. Yeah,
Freaky ass nigga.
yeah.
He a fan. He a fan.
I do want to talk to Chaz on this one, because, like I said, Chaz, you're becoming a grasshopper. You're a young studier of the game. You know what I mean? You're being locked in, right? So yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see where my man's going. My goal is for you to take over the professor accolade when I'm done and gone out of this game. But
This man said, "How dare you?"
All right. Something to shoot for.
From fresh eyes, right? And obviously watching this match before we dive into it, because we got one more layer we got to peel back before we dive into history. For a fresh perspective, do you think that this is the type of match that is important when it comes to how a wrestler gets over? And when I say that, I mean, we've seen matches of calibers where you obviously have the big star, and the goal is to get his opponent to where he's at. Did you get the sense in watching this match and kind of looking at the history that this is what this match needed to be?
Yeah. So when I first started to kind of dig on it, I wanted to go back and figure out like the history, because, you know, the way they were talking about it, it was, you know, it had the makings of a top 10, top 5 match of the year, right? So I was like, all right, well, it's always a beautiful storyline and leads up to it. So I was like, let me go find out the storyline. And then knowing they had like a backstory of where, and y'all can quote me from wrong, it was kind of like, you know, Oku had climbed the top of the mountain, was getting there and had to go against his first big test in Will Ospreay and lost. And so it's kind of like a reclimb back up to the position where he was when we got to the match we're talking about today. So just seeing that and then hearing the commentary, which I thought was fantastic, understanding that this was like the young OG ready to take the mantle, but the old guard still like, listen, I want to give it to you, but you got to show me that you're willing to take it, because I'm not just going to give it to you, leave it in bad hands. So just to know that storyline alone, I was like, okay, I'm locked in, because this is the type of storyline that make wrestling. And then just knowing that you're about to get really the 5 tool players at like the not at the hype, but at seeming like at the prime of where they're at right now, in similar builds, similar styles, both exude confidence and arrogance. You know what I mean? Especially Oku. Just to see all that, just to know the backstory, to see these two competitors really about to go out there and give you a top 5 banger for something meaningful. And it lived up to the bill, because you got everything you want as far as if you're looking to say what's a complete wrestler. You wanted aerial, you got it. You wanted submission, you got it. You wanted them throw hands, you got it. You wanted to have like a storyline, ring psychology, you got it. Everything was there for the elements. So just to see that perspective, just again being young, but knowing how storylines can dictate a match, and if they play to it right, it's a beautiful thing. That was probably just the most telling thing, is like they really bought into what this storyline means, and you got your money's worth if you were lucky to get in.
Now that we've set an excellent backstory, obviously we got to talk about how we get to this particular match. And then, you know, I'm just doing my research. There's been 3 Will Ospreay Michael Oku matches, and each one transitions into the next, right? So the first one took place in October 10th, 2021. And this is kind of a forgotten match just because like the magnitude of the second and the third. And the match is very much like how we're kind of seeing, like it's a young gun going up against like a veteran who is very much entering the prime of his career. But it's the second match that tells an even bigger story. And Ayo, I know you know, especially in our conversations, like, you know, like the deep dive of how we transition to the second to the third. But in the second match, the energy, would you say that the energy of Michael Oku that he was presenting was very much like very unsure of himself?
Yeah, 100%. And it was also Will Ospreay knowing that his opponent, Michael Oku, was unsure of himself and taking advantage of that. You know, like family in the crowd, so I'm going to embarrass you. Like, I have you already beat, so I'm going to pull you back up just to, you know, it has everything to do with like those guys that know, and this is very far ahead, but just thinking about, I know I'm leaving, everybody's saying you're the next up, you're the next guy. No, you're not. You know, I'm gonna knock you back down a peg. You know what I mean? I'm gonna embarrass you. This is still my scene. I'm still Will Ospreay. This is still RevPro by Will Ospreay. You know what I mean? Like, It's that kind of energy that I thought that second match was really all about. And, you know, just in the word humbling, you know, that was Will Ospreay humbling Michael Oku. You're great. You ain't that guy yet, you know?
Lorenzo, from a heel perspective, because I feel like that's an important dynamic in this feud. That second match, where would you rank Will Ospreay's performance? Because, like I said, like I've seen a heel disrespect like an opponent to like no end, but I feel like Will Ospreay channeled like very like 70s style wrestling. Like everything he did in that match was just very disrespectful.
That nigga channeled Satan, bro.
It won't right, bro. It won't right at all how he did my man.
So I'm thinking of a particular heel right now in All Elite Wrestling that just came back.
No.
Who I sometimes love. Who I sometimes love to hate. But I'm gonna do a juxtaposition thing here. And I appreciate where that gentleman has been, right, in his past and building himself, MLW, you know, the whole thing. When I look at where Will was heel-wise in this second match, see, a lot of guys do shit, man. And these days, everything is about, like, the clip on the TL, right, or, like, that fast moment. And cheap heat is a thing that really doesn't get called out that much anymore because we are not in a time such as the 70s or the late 80s, correct? So I feel like a lot of times the guy who I mentioned, you know, the first guy, definitely leans on that. I feel like he leaned on that a whole lot with the black kid. If anybody remembers at the pay-per-view, I'm never going to forget about that ever in my life. All right. So when I look at where Will was in this match, and things don't necessarily have to be said in order to be understood, correct? So when I look at Will Ospreay, how physically imposing he was over Michael at this juncture, the fact that Michael is the fast and rising star on the island, how he looks, the things that Will was saying, right, and just his flow about it, right, the way that Will was treating Amira, right, like this was very like super like evil white man, You dig what I'm saying? Like this cat, I don't give a fuck about him. I don't give a fuck about his folks, where they came from. I'm kind of seeing that play out, even though Will wasn't necessarily using that language, but he was in a way, right? He got that like upper up top Essex accent, and was very working class, very don't give a fuck, right? Very like like the lead singer of the Prodigy type shit, like the lead singer of Oasis, like the Gallagher motherfuckers, like don't give a fuck about shit type shit, right? But like that's very expensive heat for me. Like as somebody that like likes looking at shit, studying colonization. It's an episode of The Crown where one of the Mountbattens is reciting a poem to his men. It's like a Mason meeting going on, or whatever the fuck organization about the British, army. And he's reciting this poem about this soldier writing about his exploits in China, right? But they're like celebrating it as he's like reciting the poem. That's what this was when he's talking about like, what I'll do to you in front of your father and shit like that. And so it was a lot in there that was very luxury, expensive heat to me, man. Like it was pure. It was like a 12.5 out of 10 as far as like where he was on the Hill level. And so when things aren't presented as cheap as they sometimes are on American television, Hill wise, that's why this guy's money, because we saw when he came, he went right at Jericho head on the mic. Went right at Kenny head. You dig what I'm saying? Even though Kenny cooked back, you dig what I'm saying? But he went right at them on live television, right at Trips recently, as we just saw. You dig what I'm saying? So he a motherfucker, man. But as far as where he was and where his head was in that second match, he was a complete asshole. Complete, but a kind that I love. So I hope that makes sense.
Oh, without question.
Oh, absolutely.
Nolo, you are a notorious heel, so I know you appreciate it.
Ain't this battle, bitch?
We can't go one episode without calling you.
Look, it ends here, but obviously, like I said, the ending of the match of the second one was, if I'm not mistaken, how many hidden blades did he give Michael Oku? And keep in mind, like,
wait, you mean the hidden blades when he was picking them up, or just in general?
One thing we never mentioned is like Will Ospreay like hitting Michael Oku's wife. You know what I mean? Like, which
so that's his wife.
Yeah, that's his real life wife. Yeah,
he grabbed the mirror, took her over the guard, took her out the guardrail. Was about to do something more to her, but then Michael Oku like drop kicked him out the way. But yeah,
damn.
Oh no, he was wilding in that second match. The ending sequence of that match. The ending sequence of that match is literally like he does all his finishers, and then Michael Oku don't really kick out. He like lifts his shoulder and does a roll. And Ospreay took that as the most disrespectful way. And he said, all right, now I have to end you. And this man hit him with a hidden blade, picked him up. Hit him with another hidden blade, picked him up. Hit him with one more hidden blade, picked him up. And then like hugged him. And like looked at his family as he was doing it. And then he finally beat him. It was so disrespectful the whole entire time. And then you just see at the end, like after the match. Oh, wait, my bad. I totally forgot the whole kissing, they're blowing a kiss in the mirror and then flipping her off.
So that's why she. Oh,
yes. Bruh. When you watch the second match, and then
I gotta add that to the list.
There's too many callbacks.
I need more context. I thought I was looking at the notes and got all I needed. Like, all right, I'm good. I got the back. They didn't tell me all that. What?
Callback after callback, bro. Then after the match, all his friends and family running in.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm glad, Lorenzo. I'm glad that you brought up like the kind of the race element that's hidden in this match, right? This match took place in, I think, February, March of 2022. I was in England 8 months prior, right? I was in England while the 2020 Euros was happening. Obviously, because of COVID, it was pushed back a year. And obviously, you know what I mean? If you watch football, soccer, the one thing that is a general known is how racist crowds can become, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in England as England's in the finals of the Euros, and it was like a switch, right? And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. I saw people cheer like true passion to see like their country in the final. Like the Euros is like life or death over there, right? You already know the Euros is about to happen. Scotland plays Germany this Friday. That determines if Black Guy Wrestling Podcast continues at all. Because if they lose, this podcast is coming to an end. Just to bring that out.
It
right?
all hangs in the balance.
It all hangs in the balance. But the game ends in a draw. So typically when a draw happens, especially in this magnitude, you have a penalty shootout, right? Whoever scores the most, that's who wins the game. And I'll never forget Marcus Radshire, Jadon Sancho, two young black players that have now been put so much pressure on. They miss the spot kicks that potentially wins England the game. There was a family across the street, and mind you, I'm with British Jamaicans as this is happening, and right across the street is a large conglomerate of white people. And in England, the N-word is not really used often. The term is black bastard. And the amount of times that I heard black bastard, I heard the N-word, all because the two of them missed spot kicks, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because when I watched the second match of Will Ospreay and Michael Oku, to see a young black British kid become the biggest face in England pro wrestling history was like a mind fuck. Just because, like I said, we're talking about a lineage of we talk about systematic racism in America. Like, I've seen the systematic racism in England, in Scotland, and like how traumatizing like it is in both sense. But like being that I saw people rally around Michael Oku, that shit meant something to me. You know what I mean? Like in a deeper sense. That's why going into this match, and like we're talking about the face of British wrestling, like we're talking about a country that has produced the Dynamite Kid, the British Bulldog, Marty Jones, Nigel McGuinness, Doug Williams, Jody Fletcher. You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, like I remember Jody Fletcher in the 2000s was like the it guy coming out of the UK, but because he was of colored descent, like he wasn't given the same opportunities as like McGuinness and Doug Williams. So now you have this young black kid that's literally on the cusp of becoming the face of pro wrestling on the same card of the third match. Another arguable match of like the face of British wrestling was Zack Sabre Jr. and Connor Mills. You know what I mean? Like Connor Mills could have easily been slotted into this role, but fans are rallying behind Michael Oku. And that just it speaks volumes about like where pro wrestling is going, but more importantly, where British wrestling is, right? So we get to the third match. Here we are, right? Michael Oku had won the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship from Great O'Khan in July of 2023. Had incredible matches with Trent Seven, Hechicero, but there's that linger, right? Michael Oku has never beat Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay is quick to remind Michael Oku, and I think if it was, I believe, 2 shows prior to this, like it's the face-off, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, which was money too.
Yeah.
I wish I could have. I was already informed that I'm on 2 strikes, so I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to lose this account right now on YouTube.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
y'all can go watch it or go find it or something.
Yeah, we'll link it maybe one day.
Yeah.
RevPro on demand.
But obviously we're getting to the point of the match, but that promo was very important. And AO, if you can like kind of set the tone of like what that promo and how it transitions into the third match.
My favorite thing about this promo, this is a face-off. They're in the middle of the ring. They're talking their shit. They're going back and forth. And now there's stipulations that are being added. And the illest shit to me was them understanding that Will Ospreay is already leaving. He had already signed with AEW. We already know he's wrapping up in Japan. This is going to be his last match in RevPro, at least for a long time, one way or another, win or lose. And it's like, nah, this is still my scene. And because I want to leave this, looking good, and I don't think you're the guy to make this shit look good when I beat you, we're going to put this belt on the line in a battle royal. That was so fire to me. We're going to put this
so
shit
disrespectful.
Very much so.
This is going to be on the line in a battle royal because you're not up to par with me, bro. You know what I mean? And it also, what that did is, we probably believe, like, if I'm booking shit, I'm always going for chaos, right? So if I look at what I would have done, I would have booked this maybe like, another year out. Imagine having Oku still can't beat Ospreay on his way out, and the release that you're gonna have once he finally beats him. But there's too much politics involved, and the matter of the fact is, like, Oku was already determined to be the guy. You know what I mean? To be the guy in the scene, to be the guy in RevPro. We can't have him lose. But by that little nugget, that little detail of like, when I beat you, it's not that I'm taking the title with me, because that was one of Oku's points was like, you don't, not only do you not want to see me with the title, you want to take the title away from RevPro and do whatever you do with it around the world and shit. It's like, nah, I don't want to take the title. I just want to see it in the hands of somebody that deserves it. So that little bit of a detail added enough suspension of disbelief that it's not a 100% foregone conclusion that Will Ospreay walks away with this victory. You know what I mean? Even though, like, if you were looking at odds, I'm pretty sure that Oku would have been the favorite, just because you can't have the guy that's supposed to be here tomorrow lose to the guy that's leaving today. But that shit was so fire to me.
I want to ask a question, but once we get to the conclusion, because I want to circle back to the point you made about Oku and then finally kind of like slaying the dragon, AO. So we'll come back around.
Lorenzo, talk to me, because like I said, now that we're at the match, the importance of the crowd, right? Because we've seen it time in, time out. When it comes to a high-profile match, a big-time money match, crowds in the UK just right? Like, I know for a fact this Sunday when Drew McIntyre comes out, you're going to get a generational pop, right? Davey Boy Brett in SummerSlam '92, generational pop, right? The legendary Gunther Tyler Bate match NXT that took place in Cardiff. Incredible crowd. But this crowd, you're in a smaller arena. Like, we're talking about, like, those matches are in stadiums. This is a smaller crowd.
Absolutely.
But how important was this crowd to this match?
The most important, and I really appreciate where the event was held. Crystal Palace Sporting Center in South London. Just they packed that shit out, man. And for me, it just felt like a FA Cup. You know what I mean? At like not necessarily Wembley, but like at one of the like smaller joints. You know what I mean? Maybe at like that Nottingham Forest or what I mean, like that Everton. But they set the tone, the chants. You know what I mean? Like, even thinking about like boxing, if anybody's familiar with Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton was a boxer whose father played for Manchester City. And at that time, Manchester City was a very small club. You know what I mean? Now they're like huge. You know what I mean? They out of here winning chips. They just won the chip. But yeah, man, like
some people.
we can get into that. But long story short, you know what I mean? They definitely were the best characters in this last chapter, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But just the way that the venue is built, the way that the bleachers ascend, and that's another thing I like paying attention to as well. And especially we seeing that with the PLEs and kind of providing a different view of wrestling to like certain people, like the way the PLE looked in Puerto Rico, right? The way it looked in Australia, the way it looks in Saudi. But the way the bleachers ascend specifically at the Crystal Palace Sporting Center, it's just like the way that those voices like layer on top of one another. It just plays perfect into the atmosphere of being in England for like any type of sporting event. You know what I mean? Like even like the British Basketball League, which a lot of people don't really like even know about. A lot of them games be popping, man. You know what I mean? So like definitely the best characters in this last chapter for sure. The crowd.
Absolutely. This match is 47 minutes and 10 seconds. I think the longest match we have reviewed here on the short history of the watch list. But from a structure-wise, Nolo, like pacing, because pacing in a match of this magnitude is very important. Do you think the pacing was on point? Do you think that it could have been better, or do you think that the pacing it told exactly what it needed to tell?
No, the pacing told exactly what it needed to tell. It was perfect in telling the story of from like we talked about how the first match went into the second match and how the second match went into the third match. Like just how it starts differently than the second match. Like they lock up, they're doing a bunch of like basically like rolling around wrist locks and everything, just wrestling moves, and like they picked up at certain times and then they slowed it down at certain times. Like the crowd, like as Lorenzo was saying, was into it the entire time, and that, like I don't. So that's my number one indicator of it. Sometimes, like if the crowd's been in, you know, if you got them involved and they are still like locked in, then I think you're doing your job perfectly. And there's nothing that I would change about this match on the pacing standpoint.
So, you know, I mean, we do the entrances. One of my biggest pet peeves is when the champion comes out first. I hate it. I'm old school. Like,
Bang.
Like we are like, damn, like I get it's Will Ospreay's last time, but we disrespecting the champ. What? You know what I mean? Like, so Michael Oku comes out with Amina. It's like the first of all, the white gold drip, incredible. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing we gotta add. That's one thing we gotta add to the watch list. Like the importance of the
importance of the drip.
True.
Yeah.
Hey, like I'm with you in most cases with the champion coming out first. I hate it. But in this one, with the story how it is, I didn't mind it because he's the one who has to prove that he's the one being proven to. Like everyone already know Ospreay. He's the one trying to take his spot and prove that he can actually beat him. Him having to watch Ospreay's interest and him just like letting the moment come, I think that like adds to it in this situation.
One of my next big pet peeve of this match, and it's my only negative connotation of the match, is the fucking losers that Will Ospreay gets to come out as like his, like these dudes look like some clowns. I was like, my man came out like hood should already been up. He comes out of the entrance. Oh, all right. You know what I mean? One dude, he didn't know where to go.
He wasn't ready for the moment, man. They weren't ready. That's all.
Yeah, you got one job, man.
Yeah.
Like, just make this shit look good.
Ain't even got to wrestle.
Like
stand there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you bumping into your man's like, what are you doing? Right?
He ain't know his mark.
It's like, no, you stand here.
And then the one dude, like no disrespect, man, he came like he's like baldy, he's chubby. I'm like, this is not a representation of any part of Will Ospreay's career. Like Will Ospreay's never been balding and chubby. What are we doing? I digress. Will comes out and Will literally feels like a megastar. Like Will feels like the most important person in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get like I'm trying to think like a good comparison. Like it honestly, it felt like a Taker entrance.
Yeah.
Like if you've never seen a Taker entrance live, like it felt like that.
specifically like a Taker Mania entrance, because
Yeah.
whatever the main event is, it's like, cool, this is the streak match though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like the match. Doesn't matter where you put it. So it's like the same kind of vibe. Like, even though this is the main event, he's across from the champion, but the champion feels smaller than Will fucking Ospreay, you know?
Yeah.
Will Ospreay is the mountain that the champion has to climb.
Exactly. And Will gets the sword from one of the losers. Will climb. Will comes in the ring, and like I said, you see by the cover of the watch list, like the iconic him taking the sword and pointing it at Michael Oku, and Michael Oku coming up and allowing the sword to be on his throat. Like it's very much Michael Oku is not the same Michael Oku that Will Ospreay has wrestled again. And I think the important part of setting the tone was it felt like Will didn't realize he was going against a different Michael Oku, right? But here we are. This is where we break down the sweet science. Obviously, chime in with your favorite parts of the match, but I'm kind of going to go down a rundown of the match as in general. Like I said, the crowd starting out hot, the bell rings, and you're just like this intensity. The crowd is going absolute crazy. I think both men realizing like the magnitude of what it is. Like Will fired up. Will is like let's get this rocking. Michael Oku, he's getting that sense, right? You start out with the tie up, the trading, the reversals. A little callback is when Ospreay has Oku on the ropes and he hits him with the pat on the chest, right? And I remember in the second match, Oku tried to attack him and Will just beat the shit out of him even more. Yeah. This time, Will hits him with the chest and then chops him, and then Oku just walks away, just brushes off, and Will has the best look on his face like, nigga, what are you doing? Like you were supposed like what?
I have that as a meme, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was a great move. But and like I said, an important part on the watch list is like that opening moments. Like for everybody going around, starting with AO, like, does this let you know that we're gonna see a very different match than what we previously had seen between the two of them?
Yeah, in retrospect, 100%. I think there's like this genres of wrestling matches, right? And the way that they started this out, this is like that epic, big blockbuster drama. You know what I mean? So this is like that, we're going to get the energy out real quick. We're going to let everybody know that you have to strap in for one. Like, we're going to be here for a while. You know what I mean? Pack your lunch type of shit. And yeah, just like that. Even going back to the entrances real quick, the reason why I think about it now that I'm not too upset at Oku coming out first, because he's still trying to prove himself. So he's like, nah, I'm gonna grab the fucking spotlight. You know what I mean? You have to wait for me. It's almost like that little brother trying to fight the big brother. Whatever way psychologically and then even physically I can get an upper hand, I'm gonna try to do that now. You know what I mean? Because like in my mind, I think like this is all kayfabe, right? So Oku was like, nah, push my button first. I'm the champ. You know what I mean? Just to show him up. Same thing when you get the sword. I'm going to walk up to it. You think I'm supposed to be intimidated. I'm not. I don't give a shit who you are. You know what I mean? So many elements. And then, of course, the way that they start the match, just the energy is letting you know immediately, like, we have to strap in for a bit. The intensity is all the way up to a 10. This is one of those ones.
And I think in the beginning of the match, you very much sense that it's like a combination. Like you could tell Oku has the confidence, kayfabe wise. He has the confidence, but like maybe there is the second doubt. Like you're going against like the pound for pound best wrestler in the world, right? So obviously Will already has won from a psychological standpoint because he's beat him twice, and not just beat him twice, he's beat him like the last time they were in the ring, like he dismantled him. Right. So obviously Oku's confidence got to be shook, right?
I think so. Especially like the way that he beat him, going even back to the promo again. Another one of those things was like nobody can stop the match but Amira, if I have that correct, right? So think of the loss that he's coming off of. You know, in the promo, you know, she's pleading with Oku to, you know, think about taking this match again because nobody had to go through what I had to go through trying to nurse you back to health. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's those elements now of it being so personal, but also like I have the confidence, but it's shaken because I have this guy that not only beat me, but like took my health bars away from me. You know what I mean? Like he fucked me up. So there's like, you know, he has to prove himself to Ospreay. He has to prove himself to himself.
Yep.
You know.
Like I said, Michael Oku hits the lung blower for a near fall around the 5-minute mark. Ospreay backbreaker onto the knee, taking control. Oku hits the second rope missile drop kick, and like I said, going into the tornado DDT. Ospreay hits the handspring backspin kick, plunge onto the floor, and then he hits the springboard forearm strike for a quick near fall. Lorenzo, like at this point, like I said, obviously we're building a pace. We're building to like the bigger spots. Who, like from your vantage point, who do you think is in the clear advantage in the first half of the match?
In the first half of this match, I don't think anybody had a clear advantage. There was a point in which I believe it was probably leading up to about like that 10th minute, or it might have been after the 10th minute. But there was an attempted power bomb. I mean, I think you're probably going to get there. But that misdirection flying knee that was attempted by Oku, to me, that started to show the type of offense that he was going to be trying to continue to mount in the match. But to kind of like go back just a little bit, if I may, just a quick flashback.
Yeah.
And to kind of, you know, play around with some cinema a little bit and some, you know, some old wrestling. I kind of get pay-per-view deja vu a lot.
This is what we do on here, baby.
You know what I mean?
This is what we do.
Oku comes out first because it's the symbols here, right? Like, yes, he's walking in with the undisputed British championship of this British wrestling company, right? But Ospreay comes out with the Union Jack on. He come out with the flag.
Yeah.
Rule Britannia. You know what I mean? SummerSlam 92. You dig what I'm saying? So it's just like that set a whole like another tone for me for him coming out second. I'm like, okay, so this kid got the belt. He never got the belt from him, right? Will lost it to Ricky Knight, and I'm glad you mentioned him earlier. Oku got it from Great O'Khan, one of Will's guys. So it was like picture perfect for this moment, right? But like that was a very heavy piece of story for me coming in. But then as we start to get into this match, we definitely see a different, like, you know what I mean? Oki just got a different like demeanor about him. And for me, like when that first chop happens, like it reminds me of like that first scene in Black Panther, right? Like, you know, shout out to Chadwick, rest in peace, where he says to Killmonger, like, as you can see, like, I'm not dead, right? Like kind of piggybacking off of what Ayo said about like his health bars. You dig what I'm saying? Like this was like a whole new guy that like went to go visit the ancestors or some shit because his folks was at the last match and they didn't see what the fuck going on. Who knows what prayers his folks been saying? So we don't know. You know what I mean? Like he just appeared like a totally different spiritual fighting, like, you know, a person with a whole different fighting spirit. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. But like it just wasn't a clear winner yet. It's like one of them like old tennis matches that like Serena used to be in with Sharapova, where it's like, yo, like we like in the fifth set and like this, you know what I mean? So it really established both of them as being like really viable threats to each other, but much more of a threat that Oku has been for Ospreay in this match, if that makes sense. Like he presented himself as much more of a threat in the early stages than any other of the matches. So we kind of saw something different, but it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of like love. It was tied for a minute for me. It was 0-0, as they say in soccer.
Without question. And this next one I'm gonna throw to Nolo, but like I said, we're getting into the tens of the match. Oku hits the I see a moonsault off the to the floor, frog splash back in the ring, leaping headbutt to the corner, drop kick. Ospreay then drops Oku face first on the turnbuckle. The crowd at this point, like we're in about 15, 20 minutes, the crowd is at a fever pitch. They're chanting, "This is awesome," right? They go on the floor, Ospreay's in the charge, but then, like I said, he kind of whips him into like the post, but because of the turnbuckle spot, Oku's bleeding, right? He's cut open, and Ospreay starts to dig his fingers. And like I said, there's that conversation of blood in matches and like how it can enhance it, right? Michael Oku's not overtly like bleeding, like he's not Eddie Guerrero in 04. Like he's not gushing, but like it's clear cut. He's bleeding on the side, and like Will Ospreay's digging the fingers. So at this point, Will has now taken advantage, right? Does from your perspective, Nolo, like how does that change because like I said, the crowd didn't let up. Like they're booing Ospreay, but like from your perspective, how does like now where are you at watching this part and how it's unfolding?
Like the way I looked at it, this is when Oku's like getting into like the deeper waters. Like this is when he has to actually like persevere because he's been busted open. Not like nothing crazy, but still like bleeding is a weakness. It is not. He got you with a good strike. He hit you, and he's decided to even open it up even more to and try to add more damage to you. And he's still fighting at this point. Like, but Ospreay definitely has him like on the ropes a bit. I love the crowd. Throughout the whole match, this crowd is great because you can hear like they clearly. Hold up, wait. I'm gonna pause for a second because I'm gonna go back to your that article, that dumb article that you sent me.
Before you say it, I'm gonna set a tone for both AO, Lorenzo, and Chaz. So there's a guy I've watched his videos before, and he is very like he sucks at anything he talks about wrestling. Like he's one of those like I think I'm smarter than you. So like the wrestling I watch, he gave this match a 1 star. I think a 1.5.
1.5.
Right. So just setting the tone because he was like the structure of the match didn't make sense. So Nolo, please continue.
He said, I've never heard someone be such a hater. He was talking bad about the commentary team, even though I thought they did amazing. He was talking bad about how Oku strikes didn't look like have any impact. They said that any of their sequences didn't make any sense. He pretty much trashed the entire match. Everything that I loved about the match, he hated, which is just outrageous at it. But like he was just saying like nothing like made sense. And I was like, did you like not pay attention to this story whatsoever? Did you not watch the second match? Did you not watch the first match? Like where's your like trace of like content with any of this? Or did you just come into the match and be like, I'm gonna watch this for the first time and I'm gonna hate it from the beginning to the end? Because that's basically all the article did for the entire time of it. But to get away from that dumb person, Oku is struggling at this point, but it doesn't mean like it's just at the end. It's like he's been here before. So now he's a brand like y'all were talking about earlier, like him having the Black Panther and having the strength of the ancestors. Just because he's at the deep end of the water does not mean like he's gonna falter at this point. He is gonna like he still is like fighting back. It's just that now he is weakened and looking down bad. That's all.
Yeah, this is his real test now. You know what I mean? Like you're in there with that guy that you can't beat at like the moment where, you know, in past matches maybe you would have been beat. You know, what do you have left in the tank?
It's like you're not looking good, dog. You out here looking stupid. You know what I mean? Like you embarrassing me in front of company. That's how it's looking like.
Yeah, and then like even think about like from a mirror's point of view. This is like, damn, like I told you this was gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's several times in here camera pans to her. Like the expression on the face of somebody that cares about you when you're getting your ass beat is like, you know, like
it's one of those like if you like. I'm very much like the importance of like the valet, the manager, and like how they enhance somebody's presentation. And I think when it comes to like a couple, like a legit couple, obviously, you know what I mean, like the standard Macho Man, Elizabeth, you know what I mean? But like even like in the moments where like Randy would get hurt, like this might be controversial, but I don't care. Sometimes like it didn't feel like Liz cared at all. like
they ain't show it at least.
you know what I mean? Like my man's got snake venom in his arms, and you're like, oh, Randy, no! Like, come on, like at least Amir, like it looked like concerned every time Oku's getting beat down. So
Randy, no.
and like I said, this brings into like a great point. The next point, like Amir gets in Ospreay's face, and Will just kicks the shit out of her. Like,
does she?
Will just did not care. Will did not care that this was somebody's wife. This is somebody's daughter. Like, no care. But the one thing about Michael Oku is that if you put your hands, the one thing about Oku, like you put your hands on his wife, he gonna come back, and so like he hits the Jericho style dive around the ring. Like he looks at his wife, and he just starts going fucking crazy.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
he starts going crazy, and like he hits the generical side where he's diving between the ring posts. He's wilding on Will. Will starting to bleed now from the forehead. Oku gives him the slingshot head first into the ring post, brings him back in the ring, drop kick in the corner, the dragon screw leg whip, and he starts attacking the knee, right? And once again, very small detail, but for somebody named the Aerial Assassin, like taking out the knee is very much important.
Vital.
And more so just because, like I said, at this point, Will's not like this is not a Will like high flying match, right? But Will also has technical prowess, so eliminating a limb that he can use, which later sets up for the ending of the match. Like working on the knee is essential, right? At this point, everybody's thoughts, because like we're entering the 30-minute mark of the match. So what's everybody's thoughts? Because like I said, you're sensing, right? And we haven't hit that point yet, but like there's the point where Ospreay, like after Amin has spit in his face, Ospreay's kicked him. Then the match goes to like I think past 2 years.
Yeah.
So like at this point, like how are we feeling about like the structure of the match?
This point with Ospreay going after Amira just makes me so excited to see once Ospreay is actually a heel on the platform that he has now, because he plays this shit so well. You know, going from the second match to this third match, as far as being somebody like, damn, like I would jump with your hands on my man's, lady. So there's that part. And then like, I love going after the limbs. Like I'm a flag waving saber guy. You know what I mean?
You're a psychopath, dog.
You're a
psychopath.
But I love the intelligence. Like let's take away, Ospreay's best attribute, arguably. You know what I mean? Your balance, what you're able to do, airily. Let's take that away now, and then set you up later on for my move, which is like the simplest wrestling move of all time. But when you add in a match worth, segments of matches of a match worth of breaking this limb down, it doesn't matter how simple the move is. Like you're ripe for the picking at this point. So this is like that actual. The storytelling is already there, but now this is specific to this match. The storytelling for what we're going to do moving forward. This is like that apex.
I do want to get you guys' opinion on something that kind of got brought up earlier this weekend due to a freak show MMA fight and how it kind of correlates into pro wrestling and kind of how it breaks into this match as well. And that's the concept of adrenaline, right? And the reason why I bring it up is because this particular MMA fight was a strong man. Eddie Hall was going against two little people. And Eddie Hall powerbombed this little man to the mat, right? And like I said, Eddie Hall is legit like the world's strongest man. But he powerbombs him with such force, the little man gets up. Like he jumps up. And the conversation, like, I never want to hear anybody talk about somebody jumping up when it comes to like adrenaline in wrestling. And I think from a kayfabe standpoint, talking about this match, and like Will Ospreay has been accused of like like the not selling, quote unquote, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up.
Take it away, man. What's your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts?
The best way that I can explain is like there is pre-popular MMA pro wrestling, and then there's post-popular MMA pro wrestling. And the reason why I bring that up is we've seen all of this shit now. Like before, you could say that nobody's gonna believe that your legs hurt unless you exaggerate the limp. Your back doesn't hurt unless you're grabbing. You can't but if you've been in a fight and somebody punches you in the stomach, your stomach doesn't go out the back of your back. You don't explode. The fight ain't over because you got hit with somebody's special move. What the fuck is a special move, bro? There's no such thing. You know what I mean? So the adrenaline is like, the argument used to be if you don't sell, it's not realistic and it's not easy for people to buy in, and it's actually the complete opposite. You know, we're getting away from the cartoon aspect and the fact that, yeah, I can hit you with a power bomb. Fuck you. I'm getting back up. I still got a lot of life in me. The fight continues. So that makes sense, right? So I was so happy to see that argument. And there's always going to be people that like, no, but it's different. It's pro wrestling and you have to blah, blah, blah. And I just think that a lot of people that watch pro wrestling now have now seen, even if they've never been in a fight ever, you've seen different styles of fight, even outside of boxing. You've seen somebody, gradually leg kicks. The third leg kick doesn't mean you can't use that leg anymore. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that you're going to lose the fight. Doesn't mean that you even limp. We're going to continue fighting. I still got a lot of energy. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Lorenzo, what do you think about it, man? What do you think about the aspect of adrenaline and how it structures a pro wrestling match?
Yeah, man, I think that, when we're watching these workers, right, they're going to make certain decisions, might have been talked about. Absolutely, me. Certain decisions that definitely probably going to make a week before going through like the walkthrough of the match or whatever. But a lot of times, like things just they're happening right then and there. You know what I mean? I think it happened a few other times in this match. In the aspect of like no selling, I think in this day and age in pro wrestling, I think we can play that up a bit more because now like I think we should be a bit more mature. And we know like the realities of like an actual fight and like especially in other combat sports. It makes me think back to a particular fight, Chaz, if you remember this, Kasta Tszyu versus Zab Judah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kasta Tszyu, Russian Australian boxer. You dig what I'm saying? Zab, Brooklyn baby. You know what I mean? And it was a lot being talked about going into that fight that like Kasta wasn't going to be able to touch Zab, and once he do touch me, I ain't really going to be able to feel, talking his shit, you know what I mean? And that's why when Zab and Floyd fought, like that was, that's that style. And that, it made for interesting, it made for interesting predictions, you know what I mean? But the Zab Kasta Tszyu thing, like ended up like terribly. You dig what I'm saying? Like he was touching Zab was touching him back. But at some point, Kasta was letting him feel that power. And at some point he dropped Zab and Zab jumped right back up. But you could see that like Zab was fucked up. Like Zab, like he was wobbling and he looked like he was trying to tell him some shit. You know what I mean? You know how like a nigga's like, you know what I mean? And you better give me my change. Well, you know what I mean?
Said he had Parkinson's in the ring.
I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with Zab? It scared me as a kid.
He said he had the Muhammad Ali in the ring.
You remember he caught Parkinson's for a quick. You dig what I'm saying? And I remember being a kid and it scared me legitimately because it was the first, because now I know about pro wrestling. Like my dad then kind of like caught me up on that. All right, cool. I still got the elements of like feeding into the stories and shit. That's what it does to all of us. But that moment, like Kasta Tszyu, Zab Judah, like it scared the shit out of me because I thought I was about to see one of my favorite boxers die in the ring. But it scared the shit out of me. Whatever, right? But like the adrenaline that somebody like Zab Judah had in that moment, in that actual fight, you know what I mean, with this guy, it was like, it played a role to where it was like, okay, like we he fell and the referee was like, yeah, we gotta shut this shit back down. You know what I mean? TKO, you know what I mean? So it can either make or break you, you know what I mean? But I think that in a match like this, like pro wrestling, RevPro, like these two guys, like certain things they were just doing in the moment. You know what I mean? And it made for like a beautiful match. I don't know what Cuz was talking about the match, and you know what I mean? But like those small things, I think really just like it, they were the best like parts of the match. You know what I mean? Like working that knee. You know what I mean? And like, and we know that at this point, cool, he king of the half crab. You dig what I'm saying? So, like you said, the most simplest like move in pro wrestling, but like the elements to which I'm gonna grind this knee down. So by the time I do lock in this half crab, like, yeah, I mean, this shit might feel like the fucking Texas Cloverleaf. You know what I mean? So like, yeah.
Shout out to Dean.
Absolutely. Iceman.
Great Malenko.
Man, right.
One time. But
right.
Nolo, Chaz,
Right,
love to hear, like, what do you guys think about adrenaline? You know what I mean?
So as coming back to the game, this had been kind of like my first time seeing like adrenaline and arrogance coincide. So where AO was saying like, all right, yeah, you just gave me a devastating power bomb, but nigga, I'm right back the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So this, and before when I was watching before, I never really seen it like this, but then I really didn't have the eye that I have now. So it was more so I'm just about to like, hey, I'm about the chaos and what's gonna get me entertained. Fuck all that rap shit, because I'm just a kid, just here to be entertained. Then when you got back, so it's like, oh yeah, this is important too, because it'll make what you talking about even better. So to see adrenaline for the first time, like play, especially in this match, because you could tell like it was personal to the umpteenth power. Like, I can't be pumped, I can't be bitched, I can't go down swinging without a fight. So no matter how many times you kick me in my leg, no matter how many times you hit me with that elbow, I have a mission. And even though I might not show it all the time, eventually I'm gonna get to it. When I eventually, even though I might not show this power the second one all the time, you will not be able to beat me, because I'm gonna keep kicking out. So just in those little pockets, you saw adrenaline play a huge part. And now, like, really seeing it, like, you see it often, more so than not. It's like that little hidden secret, in a match was like the crowd just knew this person's about to be laid the fuck out by this move, and he got right back up. Oh, you ain't shit.
Exactly.
you ain't shit. Okay. So yeah, that type of shit that I'm seeing right now, it just adds another hidden surprise I like seeing.
Real quick, there's also another thing about adrenaline, and it's adrenaline dump. You know what I mean? So there's like, once you get that spike, it's like a caffeine, you fall off now. So just think about like in rounds, you have like, you come out round one and boxing, MMA, whatever the case is, and you expand all of this energy. You're pumped. You've been thinking about this shit for months. This fight is finally here, championship, right? Whatever. Then those 3 minutes go by or 5 minutes go by. You got to go sit down now.
Right.
Even for a minute. In that little bit of time, your adrenaline.
Right. Yeah.
Now you're fighting out of water. So when you apply that to pro wrestling, that's why, like, you have that burst of adrenaline and you get hit with a big move, pop up, and then hit your opponent with a big move, and now we're both just laid out, because that's immediate adrenaline dump, So that's like to Lowe's point about, like, there's so many fans that we've seen so many different things. There has to be the evolution. So this is the evolution of adrenaline. This is the evolution of selling. Adding adrenaline to selling makes pro wrestling more realistic.
I like that.
Yeah. Indeed. I never understood why fans get so upset about no selling, because like that's part of like telling the story, like, and the realism that we've all been talking about. Like, you're gonna get, like, if you are really hyped up for this fight, you are going to have a time where you're not gonna feel like you're not feeling things that are happening to you, like either someone knocking you out in the face that would have been a knockout punch, or to just being hit with a power bomb. You're gonna stand back up. And like, there's countless people that when you have someone in like the triangle, and then they pick them up, and then they slam them down.
Right.
They still there. They like the power bomb took them out or anything. It just made it like they took it and said, "Oh man, that kind of hurt." And it's like,
unless you rampage,
unless you're rampaging pride, that's a little different. That was a vicious power bomb. Actually, that made me a fan of his. That was my favorite. That was like, that made Rampage my boy until Wanderlei kept killing him. Man, that made me sad.
Slum City.
Slum City. Oh, I was so happy when he got his get back in UFC.
Oh, me too. I think the only time I've ever been like overtly disgusted with the aspect of adrenaline was when Leo Rush got powerbombed off the top of a ladder through a table, and this nigga jumped right back up. I was like, "Come on, dog! Don't insult me!" Like
this is still pro wrestling, dog.
I get it.
Like, all right,
nah.
take it easy.
No.
Take it easy.
No,
Like,
you
breathe
know
for a minute.
PCO. That's who I get mad at when he be doing that. I'm like, come on, dog.
PCO is like that's like Scarface levels. It's like, dog, I understand you're coked up right now, dog,
But come
you
on,
just took like 10 rounds. It's over. You're not on your feet. How are you on your feet, bro? This movie should have ended 3 minutes ago.
Yes,
dog. That shit means the world to me.
What's that?
Hey, bro.
I was gonna say, I love how Nolo's how PCO has become like Nolo's Ricochet. Like it just like, you get it. You get the hate.
I dislike that man with a passion.
Whatever they charging them up at the beginning of the match, it makes you want to unplug it.
Yo, remember Supercard?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh
He
my
said,
God.
we're right back there.
There's a reason why I brought this up, because it's like this particular spot that happened in the match is one of my all-time favorites of this entire match. So like going back, we're in the 30-minute mark. That Will Ospreay hits the Os cutter for a near fall, but then Oku hits a poison Rana, and when he hits the poison Rana, like Will's head clearly hits, but Will lands and then connects instantly with the hidden blade. And I love that spot so fucking much because like it's a clear sign of adrenaline. Like if that had been anybody else, like the poison Rana would have dropped him on the neck, would have fell back. Will used the momentum, clearly hurt, but like instinctively, it was like he did it in a way you can kind of think like he probably didn't even know if Oku was there. He hit it. That hidden blade could have easily missed. It was like a perfect timing. Poison Rana, instant into the hidden blade. I love that spot. I love that spot so much.
That's the art, man.
It's the art, man.
Because he missed the first hidden blade. He did.
Yes, he did.
He did.
And yeah, man, he still got it off though. He said, I'm leaving with something.
I'm from around the way.
I gotta get this one. I gotta get one off right now. I can't get one off too late. I'm gonna need to layer on more hitting, but he said I gotta get this one. Yeah.
They go back and forth the forearm strikes. You know, obviously there was a near fall, but Oku hits a series of kick to the thigh, continually working the leg. Ospreay hits the super kick. Oku hits a beautiful power driver, and then Oku hits a hidden blade on Will Ospreay, and then he hits the second one to the jaw. But in the callback, he pulls Will Ospreay up.
Yeah.
We've now entered that point where like he's in control. You fully at this point. We got about 10 minutes left in the match, but at this point, it's not Michael Oku trying to survive. Michael Oku is on the same wavelength as Will Ospreay. Like for y'all's opinion, like how significant was that in this match? Like him being the one to pull up Will Ospreay and not being done with him.
I think this is like that. He found his killer instinct for real. It's like you have to become the person that you hate the most sometimes to beat him. You know what I mean? So this is that revenge point. I'm gonna get you back for what you did to me the first time. And then also again at this point in the match, like if it ends here, this is Oku fully confident that I have him beat, but I still want more. You know what I mean? Like I'm not full yet. I still want to eat a little bit more. So this is that like maybe at this point, this is like that feeling of I've proven to myself now that I can beat this guy. Now I want to embarrass him because he embarrassed me.
Yo, this is that get back. You ain't gonna do this in front of my family, my wife, my friends. Nah, you got it. I'm gonna do this to you in your last match here. Because I'm gonna make it your last match here permanently. I gotta get you out of here
with something to remember me by, bro. Exactly. I did this to you, bro.
My man got the glow. You got
you,
now.
you shining, boy. You shining.
He's shining.
And like I said, like it's always that last gear that really sets the tone of like how a match will be like ultimately decided, right? Oku removes the elbow pad, charges at Ospreay. Will catches him with the back elbow. They're both down. They get to the knees. They train the forearm strikes. Oku hits one of the cleanest super kicks I think I've seen somebody hit. Like it legit, like it was just beautiful. Like it was like a way he like swerved the kick to like directly hit the chin. Ospreay hits the standing power bomb. Styles clash. Amira gets in the ring, gets dragged in the ring, and Will Ospreay, like Oku, like it's a beautiful moment. Oku, like she's pleading with Oku, like that's enough. Boom, boom. Will, not giving a fuck, came and obviously she pushes significance. She pushes Oku out the way and she takes the hidden blade. And my favorite part is Oku like, yo, get her out the ring. What are you doing?
Yo, Will's face during that, he was just like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Why?
Get her out the ring. Get her out. And real quick, shout out to everybody. Like the numbers on this is doing great. Thank you for everybody that's deciding that Dynamite is not important, because it's not. You watching Dynamite right here. This is more important. This is the Dynamite. But we'll get out here so everybody can enjoy the show. But we appreciate y'all for tapping in with us.
Absolutely.
Will then sets up for another hidden blade, but then Oku applies the half crab. Ospreay gets out of it. Jay Driller that drops Oku high on his shoulders. Another hidden blade. The Stormbreaker off the shoulders. We're at 45 minutes. We got, I think, 2 minutes left in the match. You honestly, at that point, with the Stormbreaker, that could be it. That is usually game over for every opponent. But that fighting spirit in Oku kicks in. Oku hits a mid-range Hurricane Rana for the near fall, swinging head plant into the mat, frog splash onto Will's back, hits another frog splash for another near fall. This point, the crowd is just unglued. Like everybody's standing up, crowd's going crazy. Oku goes again for the half crab. Will gets close, and Amira. Oh, fucking storytelling, dog. Mine. Like at this point, I'm like, this is my second time watching. I jumped up. I'm losing my mind. But she hit him with that seal of death. He drags him into the center of the ring. Then he just pulls back. Pulls back. And Will Ospreay taps 47 minutes, 10 seconds. Michael Oku retains the undisputed British heavyweight champion. Let's break down the final sequence of the match, starting with AO and working our way around. That last 10 minutes, give me tell me, especially is this was your second go around watching this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you still for me? I know for me, second time, I still felt like it was my first time.
There's so many moments here that and I know what's about to happen, but I'm so enthralled in it. It's Amira catching the hidden blade. Kidding me? You know what I mean? There's so many moments. This is a classic, bro. This solidifies everything that they were building up to, and that go home sequence is so important. It's like one of those things where all of the details were right coming into the match. All the details throughout the match were right. You have to land that shit for it to still stay where you know it can be. This match is incredible. This match is incredible. And again, to your point, Scotland, watching this again, because there's other things that you don't notice the first time because you're kind of just enthralled in it. So I'm paying attention maybe to smaller details, but there's still things that still get me. This is one of those and I'm not like I mentioned earlier, the genres of matches. This to me could have borderlined in that almost Adam Cole era NXT melodramatic type of vibe, and it didn't. Whenever you have these personal things and you want to sell with your body language and you get different people involved, it could almost be that if this was NXT, he hits a mirror with the hidden blade and then stares at his hands. Like, how could I be so violent? And, they didn't do that. Hate that shit.
What have I done?
Yeah, what have I done? Like,
This
man,
is not
like,
me.
Yeah,
The crowd just like zooms in, like
exactly. A single bead of sweat falls down in front of his face. Like, what are you talking about? They kept the tone right. They kept the tone right. This is still, people that probably professionally respect each other but personally don't. Until the bell rings, and then they shake their hands and hand the title off and all of that shit. But. What can you say about this shit? This is incredible, man.
Yeah, man.
Lorenzo, talk to me, man.
Yeah, man. The last sequence of this match, definitely AMG mode, Aston Martin mode, man. Just like watching a F1 race. And I really think that, again, when Michael starts to pull him up like Will did, kind of going back to an older question, that's when he got that advantage. But he got a bit too arrogant, right? After a while, I was like, Will was like, all right, stop playing with me, bro. Like, it's British Undisputed Championship match. Like, I feel you, but stop playing with me, right? But yeah, man, my shit coming through my, my shirt. And this was my third watch, actually. Preparing to watch it for the episode. And again, I really just feel like it's like a certain feeling that you get when watching some of these strong style matches, right? That kind of have these near falls, kind of get extended beyond a certain minute point that you thought. And it just created that same feeling, like that same exact feeling I got watching Kenny and Okada in the Dome. Even the one in Dominion. But this is going into the strong style vault. It's not necessarily ranking them or, just thinking about strong style across the continents. This going in there for me with Misawa and Kawada, with the Okadas and the Kennys, with the Okada and the Will. You dig what I'm saying? With the Toyotas and the Kongs and, Hanson and Williams, Triple Crown type shit. We could do Toyota and Kong from 95 or 97, but both of those are definitely in the vault. But this third one, this need to go in the strong style vote, man. This one of them British strong style classics that can, and you could kind of tell with the way that they wrote this match. It's kind of again lineage, man. It's kind of in that same lineage of those matches. We can even go Jordan Grace, Miko Satomura from Progress 95. That was my shit. And the way that scorpion kick, the way that last one hit at the end of the match, it's that same exact feeling. We don't get the fall yet. But then we ended up getting a submission, and kind of going back to the first match, right? It was a referee stoppage. You dig what I'm saying? So, and the whole element of the towel being a character too, the bloody towel, which had blood from the last match and blood from this match.
Exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, man, this was a movie, man. This was a beautiful send off for Will. Definitely more triumph and glory for the new King of England, man. And yeah, man, this one of them ones. This was definitely probably my match of the year for sure.
Solo Nolo.
So the sequence after he hidden blades Amira is one of my favorites, because even though we are mostly thinking that Oku's gonna come out on top, when he hits the Tiger Driver, hits the hidden blade, then hits the Stormbreaker, and then he kicks out, is the moment that I lost it, because I was just because he literally proved that he took his absolute best shot and he was still kicking and it didn't matter, and he learned from it, because when Will started to lose his shit for a little bit of a second, and he was able to reverse it and then finally put him in that single Boston Crab, and he didn't let him grab his hair this time like he did earlier in the match to stop him from doing it when he was cranking it back. Absolutely beautiful.
And then brother Chaz. My man took a deep breath.
Boys, gentlemen, let me tell you something. For a young OG in this game, still learning, that for me right now is a top 5 match I've ever seen in my life. Especially the last 10 minutes, I didn't stop. So a lot of times I'll, especially early in the match, I'll be playing PS5 or whatever and watching at the same time to make sure I'm staying engaged. I can I'm staying watching and not kind of nodding off, but some parts get boring, X, Y, and Z. So I'll do that. I think within 20 minutes, I cut that game off and was just locked in the whole fucking time. Like I didn't want to miss shit. Like I didn't want to miss anything. Like I was like detailed in every small aspect. That's how good it was. And like I said earlier, I'm a fan of somebody that I'm a fan of, I'm a fan of a lot of people, but like if you're asking me what's my favorite kind of wrestler, I'm saying like the ones, no matter the size or the gender, if you can do it all, like you have my book, because I those are my favorite kind of players in basketball. And the question I wanted to ask, like good transition to this, is the way y'all were building it up, and anybody can answer it. Did this feel like when LeBron had his game 6 magnum opus against the Heat for 45 to finally beat the Celtics?
I can see it like that.
That's interesting.
Because the way y'all described it, it was like, ooh, this sounds familiar in basketball when LeBron went to Miami, just could not crack through that door, and finally he had to reinvent himself and get help from D Wade and understand, like, yo, you're the leader. You're LeBron fucking James. I need you to be this person so we can get over the hump. So the way y'all was kind of saying, like, Oku went through this trilogy with this man. He had to reinvent and find a way and realize, like, look, we're putting all the chips in your bag for a reason, because we believe in you, but you don't seem to believe in yourself. So if you don't, how are you gonna beat this man? That's how I looked at it when y'all were describing it.
That's a solid point. And like that was LeBron realizing who LeBron is.
Yeah.
Right. This was Oku, even as the champion, realizing that I'm Michael Oku that runs this scene. This is my company. I run England. You know what I mean? Like, you did your thing and you're going and continue to do your thing wherever, and that's cute. But this is me. You know what I mean? And now that I realize that about myself, I'm fully equipped to defeat you now. You know, so you'll hit me with every special that you have in your arsenal, right? Cool. I'm Michael Oku.
I'm him.
him. You know, this is like that defining, like, not to be cliche, but like the defining moment. This is me defining myself. This is me understanding who I am. This is me putting my name up there where it's really supposed to be. You know, 1000%. That's a good call.
I thought so. Appreciate it. So yeah, all in all, man, I just this was a match for me that I will use, not for everything, but just kind of use as a barometer as far as my personal standpoint of when I consider something like top 5, or when I consider wrestlers, you know, up in that crescendo, what kind of feelings are they giving me where I can put, because what I saw from them in that match, what you saw for those two competitors, especially in that last 10 minutes, that to me is what kind of epitomizes what pro wrestling is all about. Having two people give you everything that you're asking for and more, because they exceeded the expectations. And then when you're able to, the crowd was already rocking, right? When you're able to pull the crowd with you and have them hang along each little move, each little thing, and now they're part of the story. And then everything just kind of came together all at once. And that for me is when I'm like super, super invested in match, when I get the 5-2 players, and then the 5-2 players are able to exceed my every expectation that I had coming into the game.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to make 2 points real quick. As everybody, like you fine gentlemen, know that the match I consider to be not only my favorite all-time match, but genuinely I think it's the greatest match that's ever taken place, is Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, Ring of Honor, unified ROH world title for the pure title. I think that is the greatest wrestling match that has ever taken place in the long, illustrious years of pro wrestling. I definitely think it's the greatest match to take place on London soil.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. You said Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness.
Oh, nigga, I'll send it to you. Don't worry.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, don't you worry. I'll send it.
That's one of his open tabs right now.
Exactly.
And like I said, I've watched a lot of wrestling. You know what I mean? Many decades. promotions, countries, and sometimes like when you have like an all-time favorite match, you chase the feeling. You chase the feeling that what could be better than this match, right? Never got there. And like I said, I first saw that McGuinness Danielson match when I was 16 years old. I'm 34. I can genuinely say Will Ospreay, Michael Oku 3 has challenged that theory, like that match. That's how incredible this match is. And in an extent, like how incredible this trilogy is. Because I don't think in history of pro wrestling, like I said, there can always be arguments, but from a trilogy standpoint, this told one of the greatest stories ever done. You know what I mean? Like y'all were saying, like British wrestling today, you have man like DeReese, you have Leon Slater, Dan Maloney, Connor Mills, Luke Jacob, and at the front of that is Michael Oku, right? And in order for this match to be as important, this is why in the beginning it was essential to talk about how important Will Ospreay is to British wrestling, how important Nigel McGuinness is to British wrestling, Zack Sabre Jr., Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Walter, Dragunov, like all these guys that led a revolution in the United Kingdom pro wrestling scene. You have to appreciate them to appreciate this new blood that has breathed new life into British wrestling. So from my perspective, this became the most important match that's ever taken place in the United Kingdom, bar none.
That's heavy praise, brother.
Hey,
I feel it.
I'd like to think, and you know what I mean. I don't want to speak for anybody, but this is definitely 5 leaves.
Yeah,
Easily.
Yeah, man, 5 leave to leave it off the list of those holy grails.
6 even.
Yeah,
right. 5 points, right?
yeah,
For real.
This is that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Last points being made. Clearly, like I just said, we're in a new wave of British wrestling. I think the next big match to take place in British wrestling, as far as like its history, will take place the night before All In. Michael Oku, Luke Jacobs, the undisputed British heavyweight champion. They have done an amazing job of building Luke Jacobs up.
Yes, sir.
Bro. Like Luke Jacobs is him, right? And there's a story in that. That's something that we can dive in another day. But from y'all perspective, especially in the countryside that we're in, are y'all okay with Michael Oku being the face of British wrestling? Has he won your faith over?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and
Yeah,
leader
we
of a
can
generation. Like on this card, there was a fire match from Connor Mills and Sabre. There was a fire match from Luke Jacobs. I can't remember who Luke Jacobs' opponent was. The next week, there was a fire match with Connor versus Luke Jacobs that ended. I mean, you talk about incredible matches. That's up there for me for this year too. Sleeper. But at the forefront of this new generation, I think you have Michael Oku, and I'm absolutely cool with that. Leon Slater's another one that's right in that that conversation as far as being an exciting guy that is catching attention from people outside of the bubble, so to speak. But Oku's right there, and the cool thing is now he has the history now, you know, to add on to, he can go in the rings. A lot of people that can go, but now he has like big, high profile matches that are critically acclaimed that did numbers. Like I think RevPro, Andy Quilden, the owner, was saying something like this has been, if it ain't, put it this way, if this wasn't their biggest, show ever, this was definitely up there as far as the numbers that it did for their on-demand service. The attention, the conversation that it generated in a time where there really wasn't too many people outside of RevPro fans checking for RevPro, So the guy at the forefront of that, bringing all of these eyes and ears. Like, yeah, a lot of the attention was because it was Will Ospreay's, last match before officially going to AEW. But think about the pressure of being the guy to have that match with Will Ospreay. You can easily get lost in the shuffle and forgotten about, because this is just a swan song for Ospreay. And it didn't happen that way. He still was able to come out of that shit looking like $1 million. So that by itself, being able to live up to the pressure and the expectations on a big stage solidifies him as, the guy, if not for just right now, for a very long time.
As far as Will Ospreay is concerned, he is potentially a couple of weeks away from becoming AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Obviously, that's a big selling point going into this year's Wembley. And going back to our initial conversation, like, did Will Ospreay leave the British wrestling scene better, and did he evaluate a potentially dying territory?
I would definitely say so.
Yeah.
Television is going to come. It's going to, and we've seen that, it's there now. The contract is signed, the ink is dry. But this last 3 or 4 years of Will's career has been like, it's been astounding. It's like this current run he's been on is like, it's probably some that's like equivalent, but just like to, and granted, we're in a certain day and age now in which, like, we can see certain cats like, just have like a weekend or a week of just like classics. Like we be seeing that these days during Mania. We be, like during Mania week and just like, weeks after that. Because if I'm not mistaken, this match took place after All In, correct? Like the All In debut of right. So he basically like, same gear and everything, but like, and for me that like represents that run, right? But I was thinking about something while we were talking. I'm, kind of veering off track here. Like Will Ospreay, I think probably has the like. So it's one thing, the best in the world thing. It gets said a lot depending on like whatever. Again, I named the guy earlier. He be talking some stuff. It's great. But Will Ospreay for me, bro, like even like kind of thinking about like when we were talking about like the ending of the match, like that hidden blade, Oz Cutter, Tiger Driver, and like Stormbreaker, like that move set in his arsenal is the best move set in the world. If that makes him the best in the world, so be it. But that is my statement. Like those moves in succession, like that with one another, and is the variations of them, right? Like, I guess we could probably throw that corkscrew in there too, because
Corkscrew is clean. Yeah.
This motherfucker is nasty, man.
He stacks offense, which is what I love about what he like any given moment he can just stack offense on type of offense and just come at you like in a blitzkrieg out of nowhere. That's probably one of my favorite things about Will. And like you said, the variations of the way he can come at you from different angles is he's so unpredictable. Like the shit's coming, but you don't.
He like Kyrie with his dribble. You know what I mean?
Yes. You can't
come at you in different ways.
Stuff. You're right.
Forget about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, he has the best move set in the world. And I was even coming into this match, I'm like, yeah, what we gonna see? The first time, where we gonna see the hidden blade land at first, and because you always looking for it, you know what I mean? You always trying to look out for it, and it's like as a viewer of the match, like I'd be scared of the hidden blade. You dig what I'm saying? Like I had a couple concussions in my lifetime. Shout out to everybody who done got through those. Shout out to Coda. But like, yeah, man, the motherfucking nasty, man. Like, and we look at other guys too, like how Roman closes a match, how Cena's closed matches over the years, how Michael has closed matches. You know what I mean? Like how Danielson has closed matches over the years. Like this guy is like he's AMG mode for real. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I just think that when it comes to wrestling, like sight wise, like, and he's been able to like replenish everything that the British scene has been missing. You know what I mean? In them COVID years, like he's replenished it tenfold. And now, you know what I mean? He throwing the AEW jacket, leaving out. He kind of was giving Michael that look and shit, like, this the motherfucker I got to pass this shit off to. But it was beautiful, man. I think that, the scene is in really good hands, and he definitely polished it like a motherfucker before he left. Pause.
Yes.
No, we got AO on the show.
Oh no, we ain't got Chad. We have AO.
What's up?
My boy Chad Law. Shout out Chad, man. I just always got I gotta fuck with my Queens niggas. You know what I mean? I gotta mess with them. So yeah, I mean.
Chad don't let it breathe, man.
Chad,
Yeah.
that shit like 5 times. Po.
Right.
And he does the shit so clean too. He'd be like, yo, pause. And then you go right into
Right back to it. Yeah.
Before we get up out of here, Nolo, Chaz, is there anything you want to add to the legend of this match?
Honestly, it's like I'm not the most thorough person when it comes to British wrestling, but of all the matches I've seen, this is definitely taking the cake. And the way that Will Ospreay is leaving this and leaving British wrestling in the way that it is in, it's even in the great hands, because Michael Oku has been on an absolute run. No one can take that away from him, from everything that he has accomplished while being the undisputed British champion. And I don't know. I haven't seen like the run that Luke Jacobs is on. I've seen some matches from him, so I know he's been doing his thing. Yeah. But I do anticipate it being another one that we're gonna be talking about the night before All In.
It just made me, want to learn more. Seeing spots like that, seeing matches like that makes me want to learn more about, Oku's run to this title and how he's carrying it now. I definitely want to get more into, RevPro more. But, like I said, when I've been very thankful and very blessed to have come back at a time to where I can appreciate, great matches and great shows and not take it for granted, because moments like that don't happen often. And when they do happen, especially in wrestling, it's a transcendent type of thing. I think this is one of these matches we're going to still be talking about, 20 years later, because, when you have all those elements and you have these feelings of just getting lost in and being thankful that you saw that you didn't miss one little detail, or being thankful that you knew the backstory to why this made it even more special. When you hear these type of stories, like, okay, yeah, it's one of the ones that, if you were there in that moment, you'll never forget it. And if you're thankful to go watch it, it's something that you'll always have ingrained as you, you'll keep it as a barometer of how you want to feel, moving forward. And that's, for me, is as what I'll keep moving forward when I judge matches. Like, did it make me feel like this? Because if it did, then we have a conversation.
Yeah. We might have to move this show to Thursdays, because we taking all the Dynamite's thunder right now. Before we get up out of here, of course, obviously, we got to do a couple of shout outs, plugs. AO, tell the people where they can find you. The legendary Ringside Club. I know it's every Thursday, but get the plugs in real quick, my G.
Yeah, man. Thank you for reminding me it's Wednesday, because the way that my weeks be moving, bro, it's just like a day. It's a long ass day. Yeah, man, check out the Ringside Club. We will be live, 9:05 live tomorrow night. We're across all socials. You can find us on the X and the TikTok and the this and the that. But we're there, man. The ringsideclub.com. As far as myself, my shit, the various things that I do for professionally and
the GOAT.
Yeah, it's all available madebyAObaker.com. Tap in with whatever's going on over there, and that's pretty much it, man. I'm around.
And the most incredible show on the block right now, the Locker Room Lead. Like, when I tell you, like,
killing
destination television, my man Lorenzo, please tell
back like you never left, sir.
Yeah, good. Tell the good folks, because you got some major interviews lined up. But tell them again, get everything going for you.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate y'all, man. Definitely, Locker Room Lead is fine, as it were. Taking a little break this week after interviewing the big flexor Alexis Littlefoot. We got, the Suplex Assassin Alex Kane coming up on July 3rd, sort of like a Juneteenth finale, as I'm calling it, right before the 4th. And I'm sure, folks still gonna be celebrating in their way, in their own way. You dig what I'm saying? Come July 4th. Yeah, man, I definitely, appreciate all the love so far. We're definitely in the very early stages, so definitely please Follow me at Low from the Lead. That is from without a no. Today I was trying to be on theme with my brothers here. Also on YouTube and Twitch, we are at The Locker Room Lead. Very early stages and we getting everything together. I definitely want to thank my brothers. I definitely want y'all to tune into the Ringside Club tomorrow. Shout out my boy AO next to me. Shout out Chad Law. And also the things that they're doing. You dig what I'm saying? Like the signature move with AO Baker, my boy Chad Law's music review. Shout out Boogie, Fourth Rope, the whole family. And yeah, man, BGW all day, man. You know what I mean? I'm with BGW. I've been with BGW. You know what I mean? And Scott, you know what I mean? Keep it together. Everything is good. I just got to do this. Everybody, please go support my brother. Your love is necessary right now on Amazon. Please go support my brother. It is Black Music Month. Although poetry is not necessarily music, but our words are rhythm, and rhythm is music. So please go support Black literature and Black literacy. Your love is necessary. Scotland Underwood, a very beautiful piece. So, you know what I mean? I definitely just wanted to put that out there
now too, bro.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, that's what's most important. You know what I mean? Always get down with the Locker Room Lead. We're going to be down for a long time, and we got a lot of jump shots to put up. So we appreciate y'all while we put up them jump shots and try to sink all of them. And we're going to be getting a lot together, you know what I mean? Slowly but surely. And yeah, man, I just want to keep doing it for my brothers. Absolutely. Put them orders in there.
Come on. That's love, baby. That's love.
Absolutely. You already know, my boy.
You already know for BGW, we got a chaotic month ahead of us. Obviously, starting off this Sunday. This Sunday, we will have the intergalactic soul Darius Lockhart to come on the podcast for the Darius Lockhart episode or Darius Lockhart volume as we preview Ashe 4 this next Saturday on June 22nd. We also have a couple other things that we got working on. We are actually interviewing the owner and CEO of Brill. Hold on, let me make sure I'm getting this correct. Yeah, Bree Combination Wrestling. Anthony Cole, he'll be coming on the podcast for a special volume, and then you know what I mean, the plethora of family that we got coming on to do the watch list. You know what I mean. We got our first international guest coming on in July. It's breaking news that I'll be announcing later on Instagram. We are finalizing the date for my poetry event and evening with Underwood. It's happening. Boom, boom. But other than that, of course, please go buy Your Love Is Necessary. You know what I mean? Incredible.
Buy the fucking book.
Yeah, man. Hardback.
Please do. Yes, please do.
Collectors.
Of course, you can find me PoeticScotland on X. You can find me at Scotland_Underwood on Instagram.
You can find me at Raleoftheleaf on Twitter, Instagram. Follow the 2 pod pages at bgwpod. Also, pick up my man's book on Amazon.
Thank you.
As right now, everybody, do it. It's amazing. That's another place you can find me reading this.
I like that.
Good
I like
shit.
that.
Yeah, amazing.
What that man said. Times 2. Buy the fucking book. All right, that's all I got, man. You can find me on Twitter, my man Zoe. You can find me on IG, Chaz OB. You can also find me in Charlotte come Sunday. Yes. I will be moving out of there to start my new career. So please send me prayers and positive blessings towards that.
Absolutely, my brother.
Yes, sir.
BGW 3 states. Shit like WrestleMania 2.
Yeah.
This shit is great. And of course, you can find the legendary DMacTardy at DMacTardy on all platforms. Let's get up out of here, but because I got nothing else to plug, this episode was the one of ones, gentlemen. Thank you everybody that has tapped in with us. This I think this is the longest watch list we have done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was funny when I tell you this was worth it. Ayo, Lorenzo, we love y'all brothers, man. Anytime, like I said, we don't see y'all we don't even see y'all as co-hosts. Y'all niggas are host on this platform here. Anytime y'all want to hop on, just let me know. Send you the link, send you the match, get it going.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait to do it again, man.
100%. Appreciate you every time. Very true, bro.
Absolutely.
And of course, until next time, we are out.